Hi everybody, this is a revision of the first lessons that we took together. The first thing I'm going to talk about is factor the following. Now, if I want to factor this expression, first I want to find the common factor of the numbers, which is here 12, and then I'll look at the letters. I don't have any common factor between the letters. So my only common factor is 12. Then I open the bracket. I divide 24y divided by 12. This will give me 2y minus 36x divided by 12 will give me 3x. And this is my final answer. Here I have a common factor in these two terms, which is 4y plus 1. And I divide the first term by this common factor. It will leave me with 4y. I put the plus sign. I divide the second term, which is exactly the same like the common factor, so it will leave me with 1. Remember that when I divide any number by itself or anything by itself, it will give me an answer of 1, and I must put this 1. This is not the final step. I have these two brackets are repeated, so I just write them squared. Now, here I have 4 terms. As soon as I see that I have 4 terms and I want to factor, I use grouping. I take the first 2 terms together and the second 2 terms together. So I'm going to find the common factor of the first 2 terms. First, the common factor between the 40 and the 50 is 10. Then the common factor between x cubed and x squared is the least, which is x squared. I'll open my bracket. I will find here that I have 4x and I have negative as it is, and then this will be 5. The second bracket, I'll take a common factor as 3. I don't have any letters common, so it will leave me with 4x minus 5. Here I have 4x minus 5 here and there, so I take it as my common factor. And then I divide the first term by this common factor. It will leave me with 10x squared plus, when I divide the second term by the common factor, it will leave me with 3. And this is my final answer. Here, factor the following. This is an expression. It's a quadratic expression. If I factor it, I just put my 2 brackets, divide the first term, which is x squared, on the 2 brackets. I'll have here an x and here an x. Then I look at the sign. The last sign that I can see here is positive. So both brackets have the same sign, which is the negative, because here it's negative. Now, I look at number 6. I look at 2 numbers that give me a product of 6 and that give me a sum of 5. Now, what are these 2 numbers? We can begin by 6 times 1. 6 times 1 will give me 6, but if I add 6 plus 1, it will give me 7. So this is not right, because I'm looking for 5. Now, it can be 3 times 2. 3 times 2 gives me 6, but 3 plus 2 gives me 5. So this is correct. I'm going to put one of them here and the other here. Here, I'm going to divide 2 brackets, put the x and x. Here I find that I have a negative sign. A negative sign means one of the brackets has a negative, like the middle, and the other has a positive. Okay, now I'm going to look at the 12. 2 numbers that give me a product of 12 and that give me a difference of negative 4. Now we'll begin by, now we can begin 6 by 2. 6 by 2 is 12. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. So this is correct. I'm going to put the greater of them, which is the 6, beside the negative sign, because I have the negative in the middle here. Then I'll put the 2 in the second bracket, and that's it. Now, solve using square roots. Whenever I see that I have a term squared and the others are simply numbers or constants, I begin to think about taking the square root. First, I isolate my x squared and I move the 44 to the other side of the equal sign to be negative 144. Then the squared, 144. Then I take the square root of both sides because I want simply x, not x squared. So this will give me the square root of x squared equals positive or negative the square root of 144. So this will leave me with x equals, don't forget the positive or negative because it can be either or. So I have one of my answers is x equals to 12 and the other one is x equal to negative 12. Here I have it already isolated, but when I take the square root, I can't find that any square root results in a negative number. I can't take the square root of a negative number. Then this has no solution. Look at this one. Many of you here in the exercise, when they dealt with the similar one to this, they told me too that it has no solution. No, we can't decide from the beginning like that. We have to put it in order first and then see if it has a solution or not. So we're going first to isolate the negative 4x squared and move the 42 to the other side. Then I have here negative 4x squared, negative 144. I can divide both sides by negative 4. It will leave me with 36. Now, we can see here that we got rid of the negative sign. It is a normal problem. Then we're going to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of x squared is simply x, and the square root of 36 is positive or negative 6. So I have one of the solutions is x equals to 6, and the other one is x equals to negative 6. Now, complete the square to form a perfect square trinomial, then factor. Whenever he says complete the squares, I must find a third term to make it in the form of a perfect square. Now, what do I do here? I just come to the middle term and I divide it by 2, and this will give me 10. Then I take this 10 and I add it to the end and make it squared. Then this is plus 20x plus 100. 100 is 10 squared. Then I'm going to put my bracket and square it. I'm going to take the square root of the first term, which is x. I'm going to put the middle sign, which is positive, and I'm going to take the square root of the last term, or simply this number, which is going to be 10. And this is my answer. Here, I'm going to come to the middle term, divide it by 2. It will give me 3.5. I'm going to add this 3.5 but square it to the end. Here, the second step, I'm simply going to answer. I don't need to find the calculation. So I'll have here the square root of the first term, which is x, the sign of the middle term, which is negative, and the square root of the last term, which is 3.5. Now, he wants me here to complete the square too, and then factor. Now, I have here two parts of an equation. First, I want to make sure that I have the x's together and I isolate the number on the other side. This is a way to solve equations whenever it's not possible to solve it by a simple way. Okay? So, first, I'm sure here that I isolated the negative 12 on the other side, and I deal with this side. I have here x squared plus 8x. I leave a distance, and then I put equals negative 12. Then here, I'm going to make my procedure again. I'm going to divide the 8 by 2. It's going to give me 4. I'm going to take this 4 and add it here, and then square it. The same that I'm doing here, I'm going to add after the equal sign, because this is an equation. Make sure that we added this number. We used it as a way to factor this equation, but we added it from ourselves. So as soon as we added it here before the equal sign, we must add it again after the equal sign. Then my equation will look like this: x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals negative 12 plus 16. Then this part will look, I'll take the square root of the first, it will be x, the middle term which is plus, the square root of the last which is 4, all squared, equals 16 minus 12 which is 4. Then I have a term squared here. I want to get rid of the squared in order to find my x, which is my solution. So I'm going to take the square root. The square root of the first term is x plus 4 without the square. And the square root of the other term is positive or negative 2. Then I have two solutions. X plus 4 equals 2. And x plus 4 equals negative 2. The first one, it is negative 4 plus 2, which is negative 2. And the other x, I'm going to move the 4 to the other side by a negative. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. So these are the two solutions of the equation. Now, I want to solve this equation by completing the square 2. So first, I'm going to isolate the constant after the equal sign. I'll have here x squared plus 4x. I'll leave a space, put equal. This will go by positive 32. Then the following step, I'm going to do as I did before. Here, divide this by 2. It will give me 2. Add 2 squared. As I added it here, I must add it there. The following step, write it in a better way. 32 plus 4, 36. Now, as a perfect square, this will have the square root of the first term, the middle sign, the square root of the last term. Then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. It will leave me here with x plus 2 equals positive or negative 6. So I'll have two solutions. The first solution is x plus 2 equals 6. And the second solution is x plus 2 equals negative 6. So here, if I move the 2 to the other side, it will leave me with 4. And here, if I move the 2 to the other side with the negative sign, it will leave me with negative. Now, he wants me to find the value of x and st if t is between s and u. Here I have s and here I have u. I have something in between them called t. T is. He told me that st at the beginning like that, just any point, and I'll write here 7x, st equals to 7x. And here he gave me that su, the whole thing, this is equal to 45, and he gave me that tu is equal to 5x minus 3. And he wants to find x and st. First, I'm going to write my equation. Su is equal to st plus tu. Then I'm going to substitute with the numbers that I have. Now, 7u is equal to 45 equals st, which is equal to 7x, plus tu, which is equal to 5x minus 3. Then I want to find my x first, so I will isolate the x's together, so I'll get rid of the negative 3 to put it on the other side, positive 3, equals 7x plus 5x equals 12x. X. I want the x alone. I'll divide by 12. It will give me 4. Now, this is my x. The other part is he wants st. St is equal here to 7x. So, I simply multiply 7 by 4, which is 28. And this is the second part of the problem. So use the number line to find each measure. Simply using the rule of distance equals the absolute value of x2 minus x1. Or x1 minus x2, it doesn't differ. So the distance between G and L, I have x1 equals -7 and x2 equals -2. So to find the distance, I will take the absolute value of -2 minus -7. -2 plus 7, which is 5. Now, here he wants j, k. My x1 equals the j, which is -7. My x2 is equal to k, which is -4. So, -4 minus -7. This will give me here, and if I check here, I will see that I can find the same thing. Between j and k, I just count 1, 2, and 3. That's it. Now he wants kp, k, and p. So my x1 is equal to -4, and my x2 is equal to 5. And my distance is equal to 5 minus 4. If I look here, I can just count it. Between k and p, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, which is the same answer. Now, I want to find the distance here between two coordinate points. Since I have two coordinate points, it's not a numbered line anymore. It has to have a rule of its own. Distance formula, which you can see here, to substitute in it and find the distance. So, first I want to find the distance between j and k. Let's name these points. This is x1 and y1. And this is x2 and y2. And it can be otherwise. It won't differ. Now, my x2 is -3 minus my x1 is 4, all squared, plus my y2 is -7, minus my y1 is 3, all squared. Then plus is positive 100. So my answer will be the square root of 149, and I can leave it as it is if he doesn't ask me to write it in the form of a decimal. I can do this in two ways. My points, I can do it the first way using the formula. My distance, which is uv, is equal to the square root. Okay? Now, my first point was u, which is equal to -1 and -1. And my second point, which is v, is equal to 5 and 7. So this is my x1, y1, and this is my x2, y2. Begin to, if I have here x2, 5, minus x1 minus -1, all squared, plus y2, which is 7, minus -1, all squared, which is equal to 10. This is a way. There is another way that I can find it out from the drawing. I just try to make out of this line the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle. I come with a vertical line 2 and a horizontal line from here. Here I have a right angle, then this is my right angle triangle. I simply count the units here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. But here I have 8 units. And here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here I have 6 units. I want to find the hypotenuse, which is uv. Using the Pythagorean theorem, it is equal to the square root of the sum of the other sides, which is 8 squared, plus 6 squared, which is equal to 10. The same answer by two different ways. Now, we have here, I gave you a mixture of questions, and he wants to find the distance between each pair of points. Okay, now the first one is finding the difference simply between two points. It means that I will use the number line theorem. يبقى the rule here will be x2 minus x1 and that's it. يبقى my x1 can be 21 minus 35 give me, which is 56. Now, he wants me to find the distance between these two coordinates. Now I can simply use the rule, the square root of distance between A and B. This simply will be x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. So it is the square root of x2 minus x1, which is 8 minus 5, which is 3 squared, plus y2, which is 0, minus 0, which is 0. Squared is 0. So it is the square root of 9, which is equal to 3. And simply 3, because this is the distance, so I won't use the negative part. It's only the positive part. Here, I apply the rule again. This is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. Now, the first bracket, I'll put 6 minus 6, which is 0, all squared, plus 8 minus 2, which is 8 plus 2, which is 10, all squared. So this will give me the square root of 10 squared, which is 100, which is equal to positive 10. Here I will do the same, but the distance xy is equal to 9 minus 4 squared, which is 5 squared, plus 16 minus 4, which is 12 squared, 1. The square root of 169, I'll use the positive part only, which is 13. Now, I'm going to find the coordinate of a point. I have two different forms of this kind of problem. My first form is find B on AC. B is something in the middle here, I don't know where yet, such that 1/4 of the distance from A to C. يبقى from A to C, B is 1/4 of the distance from A. Now, I have a rule to find this. My rule is B equals to x1 plus A over B multiplied by the difference of x2 minus x1, which is the distance. So, what is my x1? My x1 is the initial point, which is -5. My x2 is the final point, which is 7 here. My A over B is the fraction. A over B is equal to the fraction, which is 1/4. I apply the rule, it will give me immediately the coordinate of B, which is equal to x1, which is -5, plus A over B, which is 1/4, multiplied by x2, which is 7, minus x1, which is -5, multiplied by 12, 2. So my coordinate is here. My B is on the -2. This is the way by applying the rule. There are other ways. Feel free to use whichever way you need. Now, here I have a different form of question. Find B on AC that the ratio of AB to BC is 3:4. If he wants me to find B, which is something between A and C, I can put it anywhere now. And it has a ratio, the word ratio, equals to 3:4 from the first point. Whenever I see the word ratio and I find the ratio written, I will use another rule, which is simply B, which is the coordinate point that I want to find, equals to nx1 plus mx2 over m plus n. What are my items? Here, this is x1, and this last point is x2, and this is m, and this is n. So my x1 equals negative 5, my x2 equals 9, and my m equals 3, and my n equals 4. I'll begin to apply my rule. B equals n, which is the second one, 4, multiplied by x1, which is the first x, negative 5, plus m, which is the first point, 3, multiplied by x2, which is 9, over m plus n, which is 3 plus 4. You can use the calculator immediately. This is equal to 7 over 7, and this is equal to 1. So my B is here at point 1. I use this rule whenever I find a ratio in the problem, and I make sure that this ratio is beginning from the first coordinate to the right. Here, find the coordinate of a point. I gave you the two cases in front of you so that you can compare between them. He gave me E is 1/3 the distance from G to F. We're moving from left to right, which is our distance. I see that I can find here a fraction. Therefore, I'm going to use the rule that has the fraction. So B is equal to, first I'm going to write my items. x1 equals negative 2, x2 equals 13, A over B equals 1 over 3. Now here x1 equals negative 2 plus 1 over 3 multiplied by x2, 13, minus x1 minus 2. Using your calculator, which is 3. My point for the first one is, this is E of the first. Now, the second kind of equation, he has a ratio of GE to EF equals to 2 to 1. So I'll use the same x1 and x2, but I'll put this m and this n. Okay, now I'll apply the other rule. So my B or my E, the second E, let it be E2 so that we're not confused, is equal to n, which is the second one, which is 1, multiplied by x1, which is negative 2, plus m, which is 2, multiplied by x2, which is 13, over m plus n, which is 2 plus 1, which is equal to 3, which is equal to 8. My E2 is here. I realize that when I see a fraction, I use the rule that has a fraction, A over B. When I see a ratio, I use the rule that has n and m, which my ratio is m to n. But I make sure that I begin from the left. Now, in my last slide here, I put you all of the rules together so that you can find a relation between them or compare which rule to use when. Now, to find the distance between 2 points, the rule that I'm going to use are on a number line. It means they are on a horizontal line. But I'm simply going to use this rule, which is the absolute value of x2 minus x1. Now, this can be it can be negative 2, and B can be 5. So, the distance here is the absolute value, from A to B, is the absolute value of 5 minus 2, which would be 5 plus 2, which is equal to 7. Now, if I have here 2 coordinates, so I must use the distance formula to find the distance between them. If I have point A equals 1 and 2, point B equals negative 1 and 3, I simply substitute in the distance formula to find the distance of AB. So I put the square root of x2 minus x1 all squared, which is negative 1 negative 1 all squared, which is negative 2 squared, which is 4, plus y2 minus y1 all squared, which is 3 minus 2, which is 1. 1 squared is 1. So this is the square root of 5, and this is my answer. Now, here, in order to find the coordinate of a point on a number line, we use these two rules in different cases. So when he gives me a problem in the form of find the coordinate of a point B, that is 4 over 5, and I can see a fraction here, and B will be something, I don't know where yet, to be something in the middle, okay? Now, we're going to apply this rule immediately. First, write our givens. We have here x1 equals to 3, x2 equals 18, and a over b equals the fraction. So the rule has a fraction, and the problem has a fraction. So when we see the fraction here, so we apply this rule that has a fraction. So b equals x1, which is 3, plus the fraction 4 over 5, multiplied by x2 minus x1, which is 18 minus 3, and this will result in 15. So b will be at point 15, which will be something here. This is the first b. Let's call it b1. Now, here in this problem, we can see that find the coordinate of a point B such that the ratio of AB to BC is 2 to 3. So if I see the word ratio, I use this rule. So what are the items of my rule if I'm using the same number line? So x1 equals 3, x2 equals 18, m equals 2, and n equals 3. So m equals 2 and n equals 3. I just substitute in the rule. So b is equal to n, which is the second one, times the first coordinate, which is x1, plus m, which is the first one, multiplied by the second coordinate, which is 18, divided by the sum of the two ratios, which is 2 plus 3, which is 5. And this will result in 9. Now, by this, I gave you a quick revision on the whole of what we took from the beginning of the year till the coming quiz, which will be on Sunday. So, I want you to try to solve each problem alone, and then if you can't, or if you want to check what you did, you just open the video and watch how I solved it. If you still don't understand after watching the video twice or 3 times, you are welcome to enter a Zoom session with me, and I can re-explain it to you again. Thank you and good luck.